And welcome to Two Guys and a Mic podcast. I'm here. Are we ready now?
Yeah.
I'm here with my co-host, Jason Thompson.
What's up, Mr. Mike?
Not a whole hell of a lot. Just sitting here contemplating what just happened.
Yeah.
You know, how the hell does somebody get shot at this day and age? I could see this happening in the 60s and the 70s. You would think that all the kinks have been out of the armor.
Yeah. Well, luckily we have a special guest here to help us unravel and unpeel this onion. Special guest, Mr. Shawn Mores from Cohoes.
Hey, thanks for having me. I don't know about unraveling an onion about who to shoot today, but
Hey.
I'll give it the best I got.
God, so what was your take on the whole thing?
Well,
Isn't that crazy?
you know what? The world's crazy.
Yeah.
And, I was talking to a friend of mine just a couple weeks ago, and I had it on my podcast, Truth, Lies, and Political Bullshit.
Great podcast, guys. Check it out.
Yeah, thank you. And I was talking about how we are so pigeonholed today. You're born into either being a Republican
Yes.
or a Democrat.
Yeah.
And
It's like the caste system all over again.
right. And I believe wholeheartedly that political parties are destroying the country.
Oh.
Because people have been conditioned to believe that all of the things that they support belong in one or the other.
Right.
And the reality is, in my political career, I don't see that. I see the facade of one saying, we do this and you belong with us. And the facade of the other saying, we believe in this and you should be with us. And I'll give you an example, right? I know people who are Republicans who's had abortions. And I know people
Yeah.
who are Democrats who love guns. And if you stand in front of their platform, they will tell you, we don't support this, we don't support that, but they're full of shit. Personally, they don't even sometimes stick to the tradition of their own parties.
Well, I think it has to do with too much of a strong national party. Because they're infiltrating every facet of politics.
Well,
And your local guys no longer have, there's no congeniality together because you can't have common ground because you need that hard red and blue split.
Well, it's become a religion, man, and you are so entrenched in that belief. And that's what you see going on today in a world where people could have the balls to shoot a president and kill these innocent bystander. I love
And then still cheer about it.
yeah, and then you
That's
go,
what kills me.
Then you go online and you see people who are like rooting for the one guy who was, and I don't remember the congressman today, and I apologize because I read it this morning really quick. But one of his employees says something like, next time I hope you do better with a better shot. And I'll paraphrase that, but basically we should kill them.
I'm sorry. To me, there should be no room in our government for that.
There should be no
Period.
room in the world for that.
No.
And the government, I'm sorry, the government is the one causing these problems.
Division.
Division, because isn't it conquer and divide? Isn't that how you win? Isn't that how you, I actually sat in back rooms, okay?
Were they smoke filled? Big cigars?
The union days they were. The political ones, you really were sitting in a room with a bunch of morons thinking, why am I even involved in this shit, right?
Yeah.
Because I'd be listening to them talk about how they would destroy somebody for running for a lousy county legislator seat. I mean, we're not talking about anything so prestigious, right? Like
Yeah, you're not going to be a governor or the
right.
president. Yeah.
And they're talking about like sending a letter to somebody's wife saying your husband's cheating on you to get him out of the race. And I'd say, what is wrong with you people?
And that's why we have shit candidates.
Yes, and that's why people don't want to look what they've done to me. That's why people don't want to run, because if you're not lockstep, you can be 99% of the time with them. And the one time you can't, they want to kill you.
I have to say, though, we talk about this, Mike, where we're like, oh, these rhinos. But there's a perfect example that they're Republicans. They may not toe the entire Republican line. They're there 70% of the time, yet we're there bashing them. It's like it was no different than what's his face from West Virginia, who's a Democrat from West Virginia there that they crucified because he voted against one of Biden's policies.
Well, that's what they do.
Yeah.
What they do is they
What was his name? The Democrat from West Virginia there. He's
I
I
don't
don't know who it was either. When was it, just recently?
yeah, recent guy.
I'm going to tell you something. After
Joe Manchin. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. He's not even running.
They crucified him.
Right. But he was a traitor too, man. He made all this promise, and then he goes and votes for something, knowing that it wasn't going to come to fruition, and it ended up hurting the country. And what's he do? He says, "I'm not going to run no more." Look, if they're all phonies, man.
They're all phonies.
I've been there. I hate to say it. I should have been a phony a little because maybe they wouldn't have tried to kill me, right? Yeah. But I wasn't. And if you're any kind of man or woman, for that matter, right? It's a business that you look at and say, no wonder the country's so screwed up. Because it's all about them. It's all about power. None of those people care about you and I.
Well, that and the hypocrisy of it all.
Yes, the hypocrisy of it is...
Well, one of the things I want to pull up is, all the Democrats are quick to blame Donald Trump with January 6th. Oh, he incited the revolt, and he was in charge, and da-da-da-da. Yet the Democrats, I feel if you're going to hold Donald Trump responsible for January 6th, I really feel we should hold the Democrats responsible for what happened on Sunday. Because they've incited that. Why don't you play that clip, Jay, that we were talking about earlier today? I just want you guys to hear this, and you tell me what your thoughts are.
You got to be ready to throw a punch. Well, you have to be ready to throw a punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
That I thought he should have punched him in the face.
I feel like punching him.
I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school.
If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
No, I wish we were in high school. I could take him behind the gym.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Take him out now.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Please get up in the face of some Congress people.
People will do what they do.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
We're going to go in there, we're going to...
Well, this is just a warning to you Trumpers. Be careful. Walk lightly. And for those of you who are soldiers, make them pay.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be? Does one of us have to come out alive?
So you look at this clip, and why are the Democrats held to account to what happened yesterday?
Well, that's what I've been saying forever.
That's horrible.
They're not held accountable because they control everything. That's why they're not held accountable. And that's why they'd be willing to do anything to make Donald Trump lose, because they don't care about you or me. They care about that power that you just saw.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all they care about. These people, what's the old saying? I wouldn't pick them in gym class, okay? Because they're a bunch of nerds. They're a bunch of people that you and I wouldn't even hang out with. You wouldn't even drink a beer with them. Believe me, I was beside some of these people. I've been to, fundraisers and to Washington and different types of conventions. I talked to these people. I broke bread with some of these people. And I'd say to myself, oh, my God, I want to hang out with that person for nothing.
Yeah.
And they don't care about you, and it's all about them. And the president just a couple weeks ago says there should be a bullseye on Donald Trump.
Actually, I think that was Friday he said that.
Okay,
so was that the operative's cue to go at it?
It just emboldens people. Listen, I used to think people were smart.
No.
And then I realized
COVID
that
happened.
All these people drank Kool-Aid from Jimmy Jones, who said, "Drink it, you're going to go to heaven."
Yeah.
And they sucked it down like it was like a Budweiser, and they
just
all
because
died.
they were told to.
Yeah, because they were.
Well, if
told
they're
to.
Democrats, it's probably all Bud Lights.
Well, probably Bud Lights too. But one of the problems that we have is I said on every podcast I'm on, I say the evil empire of this world is the media.
Oh, absolutely. They're divided. They're the biggest dividers we have.
Well, they're the biggest dividers, controlled by all those people that you just seen on your, the podcast there. And they're bought and sold by the billionaires. And they're going to try to control you by manipulating what you see, what you read, when you see it, when you read it. Yeah. And I never watched Fox News. I used to just like to read, right? and say, look, I'm going to gather all the information from a whole bunch of sources, and I'll come up with my own conclusion. I have some
People are too lazy for that, Shawn.
Well, today society is TikTok, Facebook, 5 seconds, 5-second clips. You'll see a shootout, and you didn't realize that the guy who got shot that they want you to now, kill all the cops over was shooting at 15 people. Right?
Yeah.
They show little clips, and that's how they all respond. That whole young.
Well, a perfect example of that was the cop in South Carolina that was excoriated for shooting a black man in the back. What they didn't show was a black man was actually running forward with a shooting at the cop from behind. I mean, they show the section they want to run their narrative.
Yeah. Well, I spend time now reading.
And nothing about black people. I'm just saying that was the
But you're
example.
right, because if it wasn't a black person, they wouldn't have made a big.
Wouldn't have made the
freaking
news.
stink out of it. Because it isn't about white lives matter more than black matter. It's that they can stir up the division more by saying a white guy shot a black guy, a white cop shot a black cop. I'm still not sold 100% on all of this stuff. The Republicans have their problems. The Democrats have their problems. And I sit back and I say, they want to kill Trump for all this stuff, yet we have a vice president of the United States of America that was collecting money to bail out people that were burning down our country, major cities, and she's collecting money to bail them out. And they make her the vice president? And then you ask the question, how come people are all screwed up? Well, because you got the cackling vice president out there getting money from people and bailing out the guy that just burned down half of the city. And they didn't have a problem with that.
That was always my biggest problem, is that we're going to let the summer of love that destroyed cities go unchecked. And the Democrat Party thought it was great. I mean, you saw the clip there of Chris Cuomo. Oh, who said protests had to be peaceful and amicable?
Yes.
Well, no, a protest is a protest. Why is it it's bad when it's okay when Democrats do it, when Republicans do it, people got to go to jail? I don't get it. So looping back to the Trump issue, because I think that's a matter I really want to touch on, is where do you think the breakdown happened? How do we get to a point where we allow somebody to sneak onto a building less than 400 yards away from a presidential candidate and nobody does a thing?
Well, probably because we hired somebody to run the Secret Service that sold soda for a living.
Yeah.
Right? Certainly wasn't a person that came from the law enforcement or this, the Secret Service. We want to hire people now with color as the issue.
DEI, right?
DEI. We want to hire people that are women. And look at
Well, did you see that Secret Service agent who was she was like this, and Trump is just towering over her? How
trying
is
to
that
fix
even?
her glasses, trying to put her gun away.
Yeah.
Listen, I believe that there are a lot. I'll use her for an example. I bet she can excel at a lot of things,
just not that.
and be fantastic at them. Yeah. But when you put her in a position just because she's a woman, and expect that she's going to excel in that position, well, you just seen the failure.
Yeah.
And I think you've seen the failure on the whole leadership, because now they're trying to blame local police.
Yes, I saw that today.
Local police are not trained to be protecting a president.
Well, the funny thing is, they said the building that the shooter was on was actually the building that was the staging area for the tactical division of the law enforcement.
Yeah.
How crazy is that? Talk about sneaking into the chicken coop to take out the hens.
The only people you can blame are the people who are in charge of protecting the president
Which is
of the
Secret
United
Service.
States of America.
Which is Joe Biden.
Which is Joe Biden, who appointed a woman. And I'll stand corrected, but I believe she used to work either at Pepsi or Coke. She was like a CEO there. What does that have to do?
How does that happen? Why are people whose jobs are to vet these people? Why are we allowing this?
Because again, it's about
because we don't have anything to say about it. We don't allow it. They just do it.
They got people flying airplanes because of the color of their skin or their sexuality. I don't want to be in a plane with somebody who says, "What button was that?"
Yeah, I want the best person for the job in there.
Yes.
I'm not going to go have heart surgery by somebody who's never been a doctor or is a foot doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they want you to do. They want to make it seem like we are a better world when we take people who don't belong in positions, but we put them there because of their color or their gender,
sexual orientation.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and it's causing all kinds of problems in every business there is. And you're starting to see corporations look, they're going to get along and go along for a while until it starts hurting their bottom line.
I think it's starting.
Well, you're starting to see them get rid of them. You're starting to see colleges get rid of that whole entire process because
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It's funny. For as long as I can remember, I used to say, because I used to use this analogy when it came to, putting women in certain places, or men in certain places for that matter. If you're in a bar fight and the cops walk in, do you want the 6'7", 300-pound state trooper to walk in? He doesn't need to pull out his gun. His sheer presence will make people stop and go, holy shit, now I'm in trouble. Yeah. The woman walks in who's 5'6", 125, 140 pounds. The only way she's going to stop that fight is to pull out a gun. And that right there, you've lost the battle because it exposes a problem. And doesn't mean that woman is not qualified to do that job. There should be requirements.
Just remember this. The greatest father can never be even a good mother.
I agree with that.
Yep.
My wife is better at a lot of things than I am.
I am a father, and I love my kids, and I would do anything for them, but I just can't be their mother.
No.
Right.
And no matter how hard I tried, and believe me, I was a single dad.
You know that,
okay? Yeah. And a single dad can't be a mom, no matter how hard you try. You can substitute, and maybe you could do 80%.
Yep.
But a mom is always going to be a mom, and therefore, that's all you have to look at when trying to decide whether people should be in positions strictly because of their race or their sexual orientation, right?
Yeah.
You just can't put a woman in a job when she's 5'2", 5'3", and ask her to stand in front of a guy 6'5" and protect him.
Yeah,
you just
it's
can't.
not a possibility.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
And so we're forced to look at the Democratic Party, and I've been one my whole life, and I'm not so proud of it no more. The Democratic Party is pushing these agendas.
And yet you have some people in the Democratic Party. I mean, truth be told, this past weekend, we banned people from our Facebook pages. I know I've banned people on my personal page. I was sick of the vitriol. I was sick of the laughing at what took place, what happened to the president. I just couldn't take it anymore. I'm all for political discord. I love the banter back and forth. But when reason is out the door and decorum is out the door and you're wishing... Listen, I don't like Barack Obama. I've never liked Clinton, and I can't stand Joe Biden. But at the end of the day, I would never wish any harm on those people. Their fathers, their dads, their loved ones. No way. Yeah. But doesn't mean I don't like them as far as their politics, but I would never wish them harm. As soon as you breach that line with me, I'm done. We're not friends anymore.
Well,
we're done.
First and foremost, you're human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And human beings rationalize, right? And
how are these people not rationalizing?
Because we have put kids today in a world where there is no consequence for anything.
I agree with that.
And again, it's a direct response to democratic policies. Let's just look here in the capital region. Raise the age and bail reform. Those two policies have caused a disaster.
Yeah.
Albany has become like the murder capital instead of the capital of New York, right? They're shooting and killing each other down there in alarming rates. Kids 16 and 17 no longer...
That's not new, though, Shawn.
No, it is new, because kids 16 and 17 used to go in front of a judge and go to jail. Now they go to family court. That's to raise the age. Family court is a cesspool. I've been there many times. It is the worst thing.
Oh, I agree.
Right? But they're not equipped to handle criminal matters. They're there to handle matters of divorce and custody,
child support things.
So raise the age took kids 16 and 17 and said we don't try them as adults no more. We send them to family court. And so what happens is they walk in family court, and 5 minutes later they walk out. And there's no responsibility for whacking a kid over the head with a baseball bat. That's brand new. That's the state of New York, California. All these liberal cities are doing it. And the bail reform, they try to make it sound like, well, we want people to have, there's got to be some equal and fairness when it comes to, money versus poor people. I get it. But I don't see many poor people, I don't see many rich people walking down an alleyway in Albany with a handgun and a bag of crack shooting at kids.
No.
Okay?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, these rich people get involved in crimes that are far different than the violent crimes. I'm not saying some of them don't, but if you put them on the scale of justice,
not, sure.
kid,
Yeah.
you know, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, but I can remember back in the 90s when I was driving truck, listening to the radio every day, you'd have citizens in the Arbor Hills of Albany criticizing that crime's bad. So at the time, I believe it was, oh God, I can't think of his name now. He would increase police presence into those neighborhoods. And then Alice Green would be up there, oh, you're attacking the black neighborhoods, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And crime would go back up again. This is not a new topic, though. It's not a new concept. That's a problem.
If you're going to run for office, you have to have the courage of your own convictions. And I used to say, what do you think the first thing that a politician does first day they get in office?
Look at polls.
No. Yeah. They try to get reelected.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out how to get reelected on the first day. So therefore, they can't be effective because they got to fall into, fall in the line here.
Yeah.
You got to fall into that pigeonhole. You got to be the puppet to some big master, right?
Your decisions are based on, I'm
I
not going to do something to help my career.
I went into politics, said, you know what, if all I get is 4 years and I get something accomplished, good, I get out.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
But you did so much good.
I just did what was right.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I took a beating over it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll find many people who spent 5 years of their life going through everything that I went through. Yeah. And then they send the FBI after me like I'm John Gotti.
Yeah.
They say, well, we're going to send the FBI because the state couldn't do nothing no more because I didn't do nothing. They cleared me everything. And it was Cuomo. Cuomo was having an issue with the Times Union, and they weren't going to endorse him. Times Union hated me because me and Brendan Lyons hate each other. I hate the man to this day. You know what I mean? And he... they got the governor to come out and call on me to resign. I'm sitting on my back porch having a nice cold beer, trying to figure out, what I'm going to do with my kids. I was going through all this problems.
Because unfortunately, it's not just politics that's affecting
your
home life.
I didn't give a shit about the politics. I was worried about my daughter.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying,
all I cared about
bleeds into the next.
Right. So I'm sitting on the porch. They call me up and they go, Governor Cuomo just called you out to resign. It's unheard of. What's your response? I said, the most corrupt governor in America is worried about Shawn Mores, piece of shit, and they put it on the radio. And I didn't care because I would have said it right to his face.
Yeah.
You're using me and my family. You don't even know where I live. You don't know nothing about me. That's what happens in politics when you try to stand up and do the right thing. If you take somebody on, it ain't like a fight in the alleyway. You win and walk away. They
don't stop.
They don't stop. And as soon as they send the federal government at you, you're done. Nobody has enough money to fight them. Nobody can even remotely understand how something that's in a state court that would put you in probation for 2 weeks, put you in prison for 20 years.
Well, Trump knows that now.
Well, Trump knows it, and he had $3 billion. I had $45 left in the bank.
No, but
I guess the moral of the story is, I believe all the stuff that happened to Trump was a direct relationship of politics. I lived it on a smaller level.
Sure.
But I lived it. And they came after me every single day. I was in the newspaper every day. John Gotti was murdering people in New York, and I was the front page. Bad things were happening in Albany, murders, I was the front page. They didn't care. They wanted to destroy you. And
yeah, they were on a mission.
They were on a mission.
Yeah.
And I started watching what they were doing to Trump, and I said, man, that's what they did to me.
Yeah.
Except for I don't have the money to fight. I don't have billions of dollars. But man, they had him up against the wall. He's facing, 50 years in prison.
Yeah.
But he had the money, he had the resources, and he fought him to the end. And what are we seeing? All the shit was bullshit.
But the point is, if they can come after a man like that, they can come after anybody.
Well, that's the moral of my story, brother. Yeah. And
they have an agenda. They want you to fall in line, and they'll take no other.
Look, they say it to you. Just take this plea. 97% of people are convicted in federal court. You know why?
Because they take the plea.
Yeah, because you can't afford to run against them. It's $3, $4, $5, $6 million to fight just to go to a trial with the FBI in federal court. And every single crime that, again, if it was in the state court, that's just some of it's only a violation. In the federal court, it's 25 to life. And you start going, wait a minute, you're talking about putting me in jail for 30 years for $500?
Yeah.
That's what you're charging me with? What do you do?
Yeah.
What does the average guy do?
You play it out.
The average guy says, you know what? You could do what you want, but I'm not going to prison. I'm not taking a chance.
Yeah.
It's crazy that we live in a country that claims itself to be so free, yet the veneer of freedom is very, very thin.
Well, anybody who believes the government is in the business of helping its people, they're full of shit.
Well, you know what the biggest lie in the world is? We're from the government and we're here to help.
yeah, that was
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan.
I remember when he said it.
Yeah.
But he's absolutely right. There's nothing that they are there to help you with. Everybody has some kind of benefit. Let's just take a couple things. I'll use the county level, right? Somebody comes up with a great idea to start addressing DWIs. And the first thing that happens is everybody who's making money from the county government to hold classes for DWIs comes down on you like they're red ants, and they want to kill you. So I was working on a plan. She said, I still laugh because they came after me like I was, again, John Gotti killing people in New York. But Albany County was spending like $3 million on Nexium. Nexium's for heartburn.
Yeah.
And it was the biggest prescription that we paid for our.
For a second, I thought you thought they were going the Nexium out compound
No,
over at Romano.
This is a
wow,
medicine.
this is big. Yeah,
So $3 million bucks,
medicine.
right?
Yep.
So I said, this is crazy. So I hook up with a friend of mine, and we start talking about having the county buy drugs from Canada, right? And next thing I know, got this whole thing worked out. And Albany County is now going to be able to have its employees with no copay buy drugs from Canada. And the $3 million just for the one drug Nexium would drop down to $750,000. So we'd save $2.3 million. So we're having the first meeting on it. And the
I don't know, Shawn, you're rubbing me the wrong way in this conversation because that's anti-how I believe. But,
but it's okay because they're made in Ireland. So it doesn't matter where you buy them, my friend. The drug's made in Ireland.
I understand.
So even if
that.
you're American, you're buying the drug from Ireland.
Yeah.
So you can't make the argument you're taking it away from the USA because you're not.
No, but
let me just finish and then you can yell at me later.
No yelling here.
But at the end of the day, all of the pharmacists and the benefit managers, which someday you should do a podcast just on that, came down to the legislature to address the legislature about my plan.
They'd lose money.
John McDonald, Price Chopper, everybody who's a pharmacist comes down to come after me. So they're done yelling at me. 3.5 hours later, they're all yelling at me. So the common thread was, I'm putting people in danger. Even though these are tier 2 countries that we do business with everything, I'm putting people in danger. So I reach over and I pick up.
The county of Albany is putting all these people in danger.
I'm putting them in danger because I'm going to let them buy drugs that are coming from Ireland, even though they're going through Canada back to the United States. So I pick up this bag and I say, if I'm causing all these people to get sick and kill them, what about these? And I pull out all the fruit and vegetables that I got stickers on them from Mexico that we eat every day from the food circus, Price Choppers, and everywhere else. Yeah. And they didn't know what to say. Because the reality is all of the stuff that we buy comes from other countries. We have deals with them, especially food. Go get an avocado. People are eating those. Where they come from?
A lot of them are coming from California, Mexico, I'm sure.
Mexico.
Yeah.
And if you go take Nexium, I don't even know if Nexium's around no more. The heartburn medicine is made strictly in Ireland. And I like Ireland. I like Guinness. So I started looking, if I'm going to get heartburn from Guinness, I might as well take
And Nexium is made by AstraZeneca.
That's just an example of me telling you that the government they're not honest with people. No. They put their thumb down on you. And if they really wanted to help us, you wouldn't.
It's all them protecting the people that are endorsing them and giving them money to run.
Exactly. They're protecting pharmaceuticals. Small cities are protecting whoever they buy stuff. Counties are protecting whoever they're paying to do, the services.
Yeah.
They're all protected because at the end of the day, they have these things called fundraisers. And they show up in groves and throw all the bread at them.
Yep.
And so when I used to go, why are you protecting this company that's overcharging us by $2-3 million?
Yeah.
That's why.
Because they're the ones benefiting from it.
Well, that's the problem with politics. You zigzag left, and people on the right you're pissed off. You zigzag right, people on the left are pissed off. You can't. It's almost like you got to know that you're going to piss somebody off. Who can you piss off less by your legislation?
Well, moral of my story is don't worry about them. get into office. If it's a 4-year office, spend 4 years of your life working around the clock to help people's lives be better. And if you get voted out after you do it because all of your, buddies don't want to support you no more, so be it. It'll be the best 4 years that you ever ran.
I'm a firm believer in term limits because of that.
I am too.
I believe you can do make the right decisions with term limits.
Yeah. I think term limits have a value. I used to be brainwashed to believe term limits are the voter. But then I was part of redistricting and realized how they redistrict all of the voters out of the district.
Let's move this over.
And just move a couple lines and take, half the Republicans out. So now you got 97% Democrats and you're a Democrat. So when they tell you that the voter is the person who makes term limits, they're full of shit because they're the ones who draw the political lines.
Correct. The voter has no idea what the political lines are.
No. So at the end of the day, you're getting fed a line there as well.
So there was a big announcement today, and I was curious to see, Michael, what your thought was with the announcement of J.D. Vance is going to be our VP. What was I know you were a big Vivek guy, but
I was, still am.
What's your take?
You're a fan of him or not?
Oh yeah,
he likes Vivek.
I like Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
I have nothing bad to say about DJ Vance.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a
little bit out of nowhere because I didn't hear much of him before, but that's a Trump deal. Look at nobody heard from Pence before.
Same thing, but nobody heard about Vivek either until he ran for president this time around.
True.
Yeah. I don't know enough about J.D. Vance myself.
Who would you have picked? There was a short list and a regular list. I was a Tim Scott or a J.D. Vance for a long time, but who would you? Who was in your sphere of?
I truthfully. I didn't really have a love for all of them, but Scott was my favorite of them all.
Tim Scott?
Yeah.
I like Tim Scott.
I just, probably for all the wrong reasons, because I'm a God-fearing man, right? He's a truly conservative, God-fearing man.
Yeah.
And although that may not really bring a lot to the table,
I think it...
I don't know if it brings a lot to the table because again, every time you try to talk about religion, they
turns people off.
Well, they politically, make it so you can't. And so, I think for the moral compass of the world, having a guy who's not afraid to bring God to the table is refreshing.
Who's the guy who's running in Georgia right now? Big heavyset black guy. He's a big God guy, and I like him a lot too. Hopefully, he becomes the new governor. I like him, but I'm sorry.
So that's no reason. I don't know if there was anybody that was so special that I went, wow, that wows me.
Yeah.
But the quality that he had is a quality that's missing. I firmly believe God's missing from the country.
Oh, big time.
I firmly believe we keep just pushing him further and further away.
Yep.
Missing from the country, the classroom.
Yeah, and every time.
And that's a Democrat deal. Democrats are doing that.
It is. It's a Democratic deal.
And it's funny. I could never understand why. For example, take the Jews for example. The Democratic Party never was strong on Israel. Was never strong on a lot of the issues that are Jewish related. Yet they always vote as a bloc for Democrats.
Well,
I could never understand that
because Chuck Schumer.
Yeah, but he's a goddamn hypocrite.
Well, he is. That's nice and kind. See, I was going to swear. I was afraid that might.
Then he's a fucking motherfucking moron. How's that?
Well, that's what he is. I mean, here's a guy who preached about the Jewish people every time he got to a microphone, and now he's a silent lamb. You don't hear nothing about it because again,
he preaches for Hamas.
He has no moral compass. He wants to get elected. And therefore,
he's going to say whatever he needs to say.
Well, he'll say God don't exist, just so that he can have.
But I bet you he'll show up at the synagogue on Sunday.
Everybody wants to go to heaven. Nobody wants to die to get there. But I don't know if you get there by saying he don't exist, right? Yes. And the Jewish people, they're flexing their muscle.
I think they're realizing
they're flexing
what's
their
happening.
Muscle. And they used to always say, I don't know how it all came up, but the Jews have a lot of money. And you know what? The Jewish people do have a lot of money. They're very smart. They have great businesses.
The Jewish people work with. They do business within their community. They work together, and I think that's the thing.
Jewish people because they run nursing homes.
Yeah,
and they're very smart.
And scrapyards, by the way.
Yeah, there you go.
My name's Jason Thompsonberg.
And so
my favorite joke, by the way.
The Democratic Party right now is a party of cesspool It is a cesspool, and
wow, tell us how you really feel, Shawn.
yeah, and I feel that way.
Yeah.
I will be honest with you. I was born a Democrat, right?
I was always surprised that
Well,
you were a Democrat.
well, what
Actually,
they
'cause I've
do-
known you quite a while.
They
and,
roll you over and they stamp it on your ass when you're born. You're SDA Democrat.
Yeah,
that's
because your views are very much not. I mean,
well, my views I
at
like
all.
to think are common sense, and I like to think they're middle of the road things that really matter to people, right?
Yeah.
When I was the mayor of the city, what mattered to me is that we got rid of crime, that we cleaned up the streets, that we brought in businesses, that we brought in housing for the people that have a lot of money, but made sure there was housing for the people that didn't have a lot of money. There has to be a mix.
Yeah, there's got to be a balance.
There's got to be a balance, right?
The problem is, I think if you sat 100 people in the room and you gave them pro-Republican policies, pro-Democrat policies, they'd probably agree to them all.
Well,
and then
that's
say,
why-
well, wait a second, I could probably vote for any one of these guys.
That's why I said if you take the word away,
Yeah.
put a flash card, just flash it up.
Yeah, take the label off.
Say, what do you think here? We are more alike than we're different.
Yep.
You know? And people have really beat the shit out of me over my abortion stance, right? My abortion stance has always been that's between you and God. God has given us free will in this world, right? I'll tell you how I feel, but you have to make the choice.
Yeah.
But my argument is I never understood how it was called reproductive, health.
It's not reproductive rights.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
it's for a lot of people it's Friday night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now you don't want to have a
Yeah,
baby.
important decision.
And I'm not going to judge people. I really ain't. I say to people that's between you, your God, your family, whatever. And if everybody just took the position that we don't have to have these party stances that are so locked in that there can't be room for like compromise.
Yeah.
And I don't.
We're unwilling to do that today.
Well, again, yeah, we are. There's got to be. I don't.
Although, speaking of compromising, not to interrupt you, but Trump has moved the abortion needle,
of course,
much more to the center as of recently, to the chagrin of a lot of lockstep Republicans, because it's. I'm sorry, it shouldn't be a national issue. It's a states' rights issue. So, case in point.
The question is, did he move it for his moral values or did he move it for his political?
We all know it's political.
It's political.
Sure.
Because nobody has the balls to stand up and just say, "Listen, these are decisions you have to make.
Yep.
I don't like them. I don't support them, but you have to make
Yeah,
them."
but we have the most liberal abortion policies on the
Well,
planet.
think about it. I'm never going to support an abortion that takes a baby that's 9 months old. That's
But
terrible.
you can in California.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. And that's
you can
why-
in New York.
I get it. I get it.
Well, I don't know if New York,
we
but I
can-
know
in New
California
York,
you can.
There's one. I remember. I believe it was Virginia. They were talking about if the baby was born, you can make a decision.
Within 30 minutes.
Come
I think.
on. If
That's
that's
nuts.
the case, then why can't I make a decision to shoot you before you kill the baby? I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's not common sense.
Well, it's funny. They had a man on the street interview, and they were asking people. So if a man shoots a woman, and the woman is pregnant, should he be charged with a double homicide?
I get it.
And the people were like, "Well, yes, they killed a baby." So then the same question was asked. Well, do you think abortion is murder? Well, no, it's not. It's reproductive rights. Well, that you can't.
It's reproductive health.
I know, but
I don't
still,
get it.
but still, you can't say one's murder and one is not. It's both murder. But because that's my stance. I don't feel it's my job to push it on somebody else. That's because I know a lot of women that have had it and they regret it their whole entire life. But at the end of the day, I think if I don't agree with abortions, I think if it's a matter of incest or rape or blah, 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 I think there should be there. I think up to a certain point you could be allowed to, but I'm not a proponent of abortions overall.
Look, at these are topics.
But it's not my job
These
to
are
tell somebody else.
topics that are so deep.
Oh yeah.
And so divisive that I don't know how they ever get resolved. And so since you can't resolve them completely.
But if you don't talk about it, you're never going to resolve
common
it.
sense people have to be able to talk about these things to find a medium
Yes.
that everybody can be at least acceptable to.
For example, the guy doesn't agree with abortion, but I know you don't agree, so I'm for abortion. Why don't we meet in the middle that you can't have late term abortions so that there's a give and take.
Yeah.
So you can find a
It's the same
balance.
thing with this transgender movement.
Well, there's nothing.
I mean, I'll tell you something. You probably don't know this.
That's messed up.
I passed the first ever transgender bill in Albany County to give them rights, to have the same rights that I have, not to be mistreated, not to be thrown out of an apartment.
Well, that's basic human rights.
Basic human rights. It took 25 years for that to pass.
I can't believe it would even take that long.
I was able to get it, and I was able to get it passed when I became the chairman of the legislature. Not because I was like a fan of transgenders. I was a fan of human beings.
Sure.
Who have a desire to do certain things. But I said to them, don't ask me to put in some kind of law that you can go into the ladies' room if you're a man. And
but that's what they push for.
Well,
why?
That's what we do. See, what we do is we push and push and push. LGTB, QXX, YZ, WF. How many letters do they have to have?
Yeah.
There was a point that they had a value because people that were gay did not have any rights at all. And it's wrong. I don't care who you sleep with. They
care less.
I'm telling you, religious-wise, I do, but I'm saying I don't care. You do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But as far as this organization, I said, okay, they got everything they needed. Time for them to just move away. But you know what? They make so many millions, they had to start adding numbers to it, right? Now we got to do transgenders. Now we got to do this.
Yeah.
Now we're fighting as to whether a man's a man and a woman's a woman. There's no debate.
Yeah, men can have babies now.
Yeah, there's no debate.
It's so weird. I mean, I just don't understand.
You can't because you know why? It's a mental illness in my view.
Yeah.
Or there's something that makes you want to do that. And I'm okay. Do what you want to do until it affects other people, right?
Right.
Like having a man swimming against women or boxing. I said to I was joking. I don't know, it didn't go over so well, but I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to become the MMA all-women's champion. I'm going to go tell them I'm a woman and go kick the shit out of some of them and get paid $20 million.
I think there's a guy who did that. It was a power lifter, and he joined the women's competition, said he was a woman that day.
Yeah.
And he destroyed all of the records a woman will ever have.
I was afraid I'd get my ass kicked.
and then he said, well, I'm not a woman anyway, so it makes a difference.
What I'm saying.
So it destroys women's sports.
It does. What says that I personally can't say that I perceive myself to be a woman and go fight? Because I still think that the toughest woman in MMA is not going to beat me. Okay?
Yeah.
And I think that at least I could work my way up and make millions because that's what they're getting paid. How is that competition? How is that fair?
It's not.
It's disgusting at the highest level. Yet the Democrats
are pushing that.
Are pushing it. So what happened to the Democrat that I was proud to be? Labor, unions.
The Blue Dogs.
The Blue Dogs. My mother, my father. What is the part of the Democratic Party that I so desire?
The socialists took that over.
Yes, they did. And it just when?
I believe that the downfall of the Democratic Party started with the election of Roosevelt, with the New Deal. That was all a start of the increase in socialism and the march to the left.
I can't tell you when it started because it creeped up so fast when I wasn't paying attention. But Bernie Sanders,
it expedited over
Bernie
the 60s
Sanders
and
in my time
70s.
is the guy that's started all this crap. He's insane.
Yeah, but the thing is they infiltrated the colleges, they infiltrated the schools, and they convert all these people, and then suddenly it blows up exponentially because so many people are being indoctrinated. So now they're outnumber Republicans.
I was a firefighter, right? I was a firefighter for 27 years. I wasn't down in New York City for 9/11, but I lived through it.
We all did.
I adopted a family down there with the firefighters. We became friends with them. Some of our guys went down there. But I was big in the union at the time. I was the president of Firefighters Union. I worked for, my side job was working for another union. And I listened to all of these politicians make these promises that they would never allow our country to fall into a trap again where 13 or 20 people could walk into the country and take down the World Trade Center.
10 million a year now.
And now, those same people, because they don't ever leave, it's the same freaking people from 20 years ago that are now 90 years old, and they're opening up the border. And people are coming in from every walk of life.
Yep.
And they don't think that there will be another major disaster. They care about votes.
That's it.
Simple.
Well, was it Maxine Waters that said that?
She's a
wasn't that? Did you? Did you just say she's a quiff?
She's a quiff.
Oh, you heard it here, folks. No, she came out and said we need this because we're losing votes. California people are moving out of California. They're losing congressional seats.
Let me tell you what they did.
She's a quiff.
Yeah. Let me tell you what they did. Yeah, that's
you can't argue it.
What are you going to say? She is.
Oh, nasty.
I learned that in the projects when I was a kid. Everybody, well, probably a lot of people don't know, right? But population is how you base your Congress, right?
Yep.
Congress seats are based on how much population you have.
Yep.
California lost population. New York City lost population. Chicago's losing population.
Massachusetts.
Right, Massachusetts.
All the blue states.
So all these big, powerful blue states that are losing, if you just step back, where are they sending all these immigrants?
All
They're
those
sending them
states.
to New York, California, all the states where they want to count them as part of the census so that they can gain their Congress people back.
What I don't understand is if they're going to count them on the census and yet they're not allowed to vote, why should they? Why should
Don't
they
say that because some places are pushing the vote. New York City. Now,
well, that was bound to be unconstitutional.
Well, it may have been bound, but when? After the election?
Well, they said actually that was in the spring. That was in the spring. It actually went to New York State Supreme Court, allowing illegal votes for the city, and they still said no, they can't do that.
But what I'm saying is,
but if it's in the pipeline for fighting, I think it'll eventually get passed. Sure.
Use this for example. You filed a lawsuit in New York City. You're a congresswoman, and say, "I'm filing a lawsuit. You can't do that," and then you go to the first court, and they say, "You're right. You can't do that." Now they appeal that again. And they appeal it again. And this one says, well, you can do that. By the time it gets done, you could have already had an election where they voted. And don't tell me for 1 second they're not voting. The Democrats just voted down a Senate bill that required you to be an American to vote. And
yet that passed in the Congress, and it didn't pass in the Senate.
I mean, somehow you convince people because you think they're so stupid. Well, we voted it down because... Oh, well, not everybody has an ID, and it would cost money. Come on, you're so full of shit.
You need a goddamn ID to get a book at a library.
I got to give my Social Security to rent a car. I got to show you my license to get on an airplane. Yeah. And if I don't have a license, then part of the deal is when you become American citizen, you get an ID. Right? There's an easy way to figure that out. But they want you to believe they don't vote for this because... all these underlying issues, and it's full of shit.
Absolutely.
The real issue is this. We don't want you to stop people from voting that we're letting over the border because that's why we're letting them come.
Yeah,
that's exactly
why. Yeah.
And I used to say to I'd have some conversations with my father and a couple other people. I have coffee with them all the time, right? And I say, they don't check them for tuberculosis. They don't check them for diseases. Nope. We are allowing people to come into this country that have
polio's on the rise. We eradicated polio, and it's back on the rise.
That's because we're allowing people to come to this country with diseases we eradicated that we don't even check them for. I couldn't go to a restaurant and eat. I couldn't get on a plane. My daughter couldn't go to college. Right? COVID. Yet you could jump over the border
and not be tested.
United States, and we don't even test you.
Well, it's to that point. If you have children, you got to show proof of vaccination. Go to school, public schools. They don't. They don't.
You go to get a license.
It's nuts.
You got to show all 15 forms of ID. They don't.
They're just giving a license.
You're getting out
you don't even know if that's their real name. We were talking about this in the last podcast. They had a reporter go down to the southern border, and on the other side of the Mexican border. Or the American-Mexican border, you'll see piles of documentation, all their wallets, their passports, their documentation of who they are. They're told to leave all that on the Mexican side so they come without any documentation.
All you gotta do is look at the whole entire flying. Right? They don't have to show ID to fly.
Yeah, they have a separate entrance.
Well, they have a letter saying that I have a court date in 55 years. I'm not going to mention no names, but I'm going to tell you this. I have a friend of mine who's a fantastic guy, married a girl from Mexico, been here 19 years, raised 2 kids, went to college. They come crashing his door, knocking his door down, and deported his wife because somewhere along the line she didn't fill out something on the paperwork right 19 years ago. And they're deporting his wife. He had to leave the States and build a house in Mexico.
Nuts.
And they're jumping the border. I said to him, why don't you just bring her over and let her jump the border and she won't have a date for 20 years.
That's crazy.
But can you imagine going to a guy's house and taking his wife out because somewhere along the line the documentation was screwed up from 20 years ago? She's been here.
Yep.
And now I have another friend. I'll leave you with this because I'm sure you're getting short on time, but I'm going to leave you with this.
Oh, we have all the time in the world.
Oh, okay. I got another friend. He's been married for over 27 years to a Filipino girl. And they brought her sister over, and she's been an American citizen for 18 years. She gets a letter the other day, and he opens it up, and it says, congratulations, you've been whatever they do, and next week we can swear you in as an American citizen. She's been one for 19 years.
Oh, so my God, the system is so broken.
Basically saying, he called me up because you won't believe this shit. He goes, let me read this letter to you. Congratulations, after all of the paperwork and whatever, the bullshit that she had to go through 18 years ago, you're now officially able to be an American citizen. He wrote back and said she's been one for 18 years. I mean, that's how broken the system is. So one gets deported, one's getting sworn in, she's been an American citizen for 18 years, and all the ones that jump the border, you don't even know where they are.
No.
They're robbing.
Well, yeah, they're living in nice hotels in New York City.
They're murdering people.
And unfortunately,
They're
there's a lot of them
raping
that
kids.
we don't know what they're doing because they came over with an agenda.
And it's crickets. CNN, MSNBC, none of those channels, they don't talk about it. I looked at the headlines. Trump taken off the stage by...
Incident.
Well, because he fell, he tripped.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so brazen to lie to you. And then I'll go on Facebook and there'll be 1,000 people fighting. He didn't get shot, he tripped. Because that's how young people get their news today.
Yeah.
By a quick little bing on their phone. They look down, TikTok, Trump fell, not shot. Oh, he didn't get shot. You're assholes, he didn't get shot. And next thing you know, you have chaos.
Yeah.
And all these kids. And they're not Democrats. They're not Republicans. They don't know what they are. And so that's why we're bringing in people from outside the country, because kids from inside the country have no interest in politics. They have no interest in being a Democrat.
No, they're busier knowing what the sports score is and who their elected representative.
TikTok and dancing.
And playing their video games.
Yeah. So that's how I see it.
Well, Shawn, I know I appreciate the fact that you've given us 52 minutes of your time.
Woo!
That went quick. That went really, really fast.
I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, I hope to have you on again, and you're always welcome.
I appreciate it.
Always reach out. Michael, why don't you take us out of here? You brought us in. Take us out.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, till we meet again.
Amen.
We were great.
Hey.
We were free.